Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's decision to suspend Parliament was unlawful, the Supreme Court has ruled. Mr Johnson, who is currently in New York for a United Nations summit, suspended or prorogued Parliament for 5 weeks earlier this month so he could outline his government's new policies. But the court said it was wrong to stop MPs carrying out duties in the run-up to Brexit on the 31st of October.
The court is bound to conclude, therefore, that the decision to advise Her Majesty to prorogue Parliament was unlawful because it had the effect of frustrating or preventing the ability of Parliament to carry out its constitutional functions without reasonable justification.
Boris Johnson, who is in New York for talks with the leaders from the United Nations General Assembly, said he would respect the judicial process, but that the UK would still leave the EU on the 31st of October.
Yes, obviously this is a verdict that we will respect, and we respect the judicial process. I have to say I strongly disagree with what the justices have found. I don't think that it's right, but we will go ahead and, of course, Parliament will come back. I do think there's a good case for getting on with the Queen's speech anyway, and we'll do that.
In response to the verdict, opposition politicians have been calling for the Prime Minister to resign.
And I invite Boris Johnson, in the historic words, to consider his position and become the shortest-serving Prime Minister there's ever been.
Current and former senior management at the collapsed travel firm Thomas Cook have come under fire for the multi-million-pound payments they received, despite the company being £1.5 billion in debt. Current and former bosses of the travel firm received payouts worth more than £35 million in the last 12 years. Around 155,000 of the firm's customers are being brought back to the UK after the firm collapsed on Monday. The Civil Aviation Authority says they will return 16,500 people to the UK on Tuesday on 74 scheduled flights. An inquiry from the Insolvency Service will look at whether Thomas Cook's directors were willfully negligent. The UN's climate summit has closed in New York with a mixed reaction as to its achievements. More than 60 nations announced they were working on or exploring plans to reduce greenhouse gas to virtually zero. A similar number said they would definitely boost their climate change ambitions by next year.
How dare you!
However, campaigner Greta Thunberg blasted leaders for what she called inadequate ambition that risked the future of the young. Spain's Supreme Court has ruled that the remains of dictator Francisco Franco should be exhumed. He currently lies in a huge mausoleum near the capital, Madrid, called the Valley of the Fallen, alongside tens of thousands of Civil War dead. The court backed the socialist government's plans to move the remains from the state mausoleum to a less controversial site, a cemetery where his wife is buried. An appeal by Franco's family against the exhumation was rejected. China has been making their final preparations for its celebratory parade on October the 1st. Almost 100,000 people have been practicing their formations in Tiananmen Square. The 80-minute grand military parade will mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. The extravaganza will showcase around 15,000 military personnel, 160 aircraft and 59 formations in total, making it the biggest military parade in recent history. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have visited a beach in Cape Town to learn about a project helping vulnerable young people with their mental health. Harry and Meghan met surfing mentors at Monwabisi Beach to hear about the work of the NGO Waves for Change. The royal couple are on the second day of their 10-day tour of South Africa.
You know, I think what's so amazing about being here today is you can see there's so much good happening in the world, and there's so much positivity and all this diversity and inclusivity. I think the focus is on that, which is why it's so great that you're here today. It just highlights that, yes, there's a lot of attention on things that could be a bit troubling in the world, but this is actually what's making a difference and what matters.
And finally, the Hollywood actor Tom Hanks will be given the Lifetime Achievement Award at next year's Golden Globes. The 63-year-old made his movie breakthrough in Big in 1988 and went on to win back-to-back Oscars and Golden Globes in 1994 and 1995 for his roles in Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. He also starred in dozens of movies, including Sleepless in Seattle and Saving Private Ryan, and he was the voice of the cowboy Woody in the Toy Story movie franchise. And that's your international news around the world in 5.